the root of that is a place of unbelief. And what I wanted to ask you guys is where you're letting anxiety in. But basically, I believe that we're believing a lie, that God is not sufficient in those areas. And he is a God of all sufficiency. If there's a reason that certain things are not the way you think that they should be, possibly God is working these areas out in your life. He's developing a muscle. You know, he is the God of the universe. He's got all things right there. So if there's an area, instead of letting anxiety come in and literally debilitate you, I'm watching, it's like the enemy has got a huge play on our minds right now. And this is a time to stand firm and believe. And the Lord just began to speak to me. What are you believing that is a lie? And then what are you believing for? And is God not able to do more than anything you can possibly imagine? So my child, kind of like an exercise I wanted you to do this next week is anytime there's any anxiety coming in your life, anything that's causing you to be anxious, take authority over the smallest little bit of anxiety, because it'll come in small and then it'll end up huge. But the enemy's desire is to debilitate you, just to totally debilitate you. So I want to challenge you this week first to really study Philippians 4, I think it's 4:4, and then go all the way through 8, because in 8 it talks about where you're dwelling. Where's your dwelling place? Where are you camping out? What lie are you believing for? And I want to challenge you that wherever it is, because the days that we're in, the enemy's going to come and try to debilitate you with anxiety. Take authority over that with the truth of what the word says. So you've got to know the word so you can counteract the lie with the truth. So I just urge you to get into the word with prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving. When you begin to thank the Lord for the truth, everything changes. Everything changes. There's a lot of things, a lot of plates circling right now of circumstances that do not rule our life because of who we are in him. So I just want to urge you to stand up and believe who God says you are. That was the other thing, is who are you? Who are you? You're a child of the Most High God. And he's given you everything. He's given you his kingdom. Everything. So quit believing the lie and counteract the places of anxiety. And I'm telling you, none of us are exempt from this. You know, I stand here, there's places the enemy creeps in and tries to cause anxiety in my life. I believe anxiety is a lack of trust. It's a lack of believing God for who he says he is. So rise up, O children of God. Decree the truth. I'm a word person. Decree the truth of who you are. And then anxiety will leave. In Jesus' name.
She's lived all these years with me. She has to learn to be a good listener. Or how to tune people out, one or the other. Amen, amen. And we have a daughter who likes to talk. You should come home, please. Just take her with you. A few things need to... I'm not on. Sounds like I'm on. Sound. Hum. You getting it? A few things for this week before we start. Well, I got so much on here. See how this comes together. Joaquin Evans will be with us on the Friday the 20th. And he'll be here to share. And we will meet that night. I think we'll start at 6:30. And then Darren Canning will be here. Again, the dates. You don't have that one written down. It'll be the weekend after Easter. Okay, whatever that date is, he'll be here on Saturday and Sunday. I don't have a schedule for you how that's going to look, but yeah, 17th, 18th, 19th. He'll be here actually for but I'll do a schedule. I don't know how many meetings we're going to actually have, how that's going to look, but Darren Canning will be here with us on the weekend of the 18th and the 19th. And where is Bible Study Tuesday? Did he cancel? This is the off week? Okay, then, okay. So this is an off week. And then I don't know about Friday. You'll have to ask me, Shirley. I'm leaving Thursday, so please be praying for me. I'm leaving Thursday for Mexico. I'll only be there for a short time, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, coming back. So I'm leaving on Thursday, coming back on Monday. And I'm really looking forward to that, actually. The enemies tried to stop me from going, I'm quite certain, but, hey. We went to Bethel last night, which was interesting, and we did not think this out. We decided we were going to go, and so we went, and it was also the lose an hour of sleep night. So we ended up not getting home till midnight, which became 1 o'clock quickly, and then getting up at 5, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? Not so sure this is a good idea. Used to, that's not so bad. But as we get older, sleep becomes more important. But Joaquin, it was not a good idea to go on Saturday night right before Sunday because I can't get most of his message out of my head. And so you're just stuck with it, okay? And he said some things last night. It's really interesting because I just got through talking about transfiguration. And he had a take on the transfiguration that I've never heard. He took Peter, John, and James with him. And they go, but normally Jesus went by himself. So he said, that was Jesus's normal thing to do. The transfiguration was something that Jesus did quite frequently. He went into the presence of his Father. It's just that this time he took Peter, James, and John with him. It wasn't a one-time occurrence. He looked at it. This is what Jesus did regularly. And then he said, so when Peter thought about prayer and getting away to be with the Father, this was the example he had. I went, oh, that's different. It's a different thought process. Now think about the people that are always talking about going to heaven. And then they get into the quiet time and God just takes them off and they go away, like Anna Roundtree's stories and stuff. And Bob Jones's stories, all the things that he said. And I thought, wow. And I know that there's times where I get to leave. I feel like literally my body leaves myself and I go off to a different place. And I believe these things are readily available to us all the time. But the problem is, as I see it, what I look at is that we get into a routine, we get into being in a place of, as he was talking about last night, we get to be in a place of being an expert rather than a son and a servant. And so we become religious. And that really hinders us from getting into his presence. And what I believe is when we get in that place, and what really spoke to me and what really cut me to the quick was Revelation 3, where Jesus is talking about Laodicea. And he says, I know your deeds, that you are neither cold nor hot. I wish that you were cold or hot. So because you are lukewarm and neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. Now that's a fairly dramatic. Yeah, it's 3:15 and 16. And one of the things was talking about was hot and cold. Cold is just a place you're only one touch away from God from being hot. And lukewarm is something where you've kind of you've actually put up the walls yourself. It's not Satan that's done this. You've made yourself lukewarm. You didn't make yourself cold. The enemy made you cold. You're sitting off over there. But lukewarm, you know. And what I realized, I looked at my life, I said, I've allowed myself to slip into being lukewarm. I don't have the same passion that I had. I said, how did I get here? And I started looking back. And it comes down to busyness. It comes down to, we all have these things. Okay? Yeah, I still owe probably 25, 30% of my taxes are still not paid. I praise him for what we did pay. I mean, I really do. My cup's always half full or overflowing, however you want to look at it. So but I also know that I've got this debt that needs to be paid. I know that there's a leak on the roof that I need to get fixed. I know that there's things I need to get done before spring gets here so that I'm not so far behind when everything starts growing and going crazy and we've got so much to do and time starts getting eaten. I know that there's, all the different things that my children are walking through, all the different things, as Shirley even said, a family member that's suffering with anxiety and all the different things, all these things divert my attention from him. They keep me out of place because my mind, if I go in to visit with my father, as Raymond was saying, he talked about, I don't go in there with my list. Okay, when I seek the kingdom, when I seek God with all my heart, and the word seek there where it says seek first the kingdom, when it talks about that, the word means it is a desire, it is a passion, and you are on a search, you are on a mission to find something. That's what it means to seek. And so if I'm on a mission to seek, I'm not seeking with my list of things that I need him to do for me. I'm on a mission to find him. See, I just need to get to where he's at and get in that place and let my daddy just wrap his arms around me and hold me. I need him to just be in a place where it's like, man, there's nothing like it. And I know there's a lot of people that have really never experienced that. And to me, it's sad because it's available to every one of us. But I will tell you, to get there most of the time, for me to get there, I've got to get rid of all the junk. How often have you tried to get to the place and push in, but the reason you can't get there is because your mind keeps thinking about, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that. Wow, we got this over here to do. This person's got this, or this is happening, or this is happening. And you've got all this busyness and all this stuff, and most of it is because we've got a list. But when I really get to a place where I seek him, and he was taking me there earlier this year, it's like I look back and I can see where he was trying to wake me up. And I never look at myself as a lukewarm. I don't consider myself lukewarm at all until last night it hit me in the face. It's just right there. And the word is gives us so much. I mean, in Matthew, it tells us, seek first the kingdom. It also says you cannot serve two masters. You will love one and hate the other. You'll follow one and despise the other. It's in two different places. It talks about you can't serve two masters. I cannot serve this world and God. It says for me to even be a friend with this world is to make myself an enemy of God. But it's this world that is constantly wrapping me up and just like it's just like, have you ever walked through a real viney, grassy field and it just grabs a hold of your legs and it makes walking difficult? That's what it's like. It's hindering your walk. It's hindering your ability to even get into his presence to where the fire of God can light you up. Because you're so consumed trying to get out of the weeds and all the stuff, and you're concentrating on that, you can't even find him. And when you find him, it's all about, get these weeds off me. And it causes us to become lukewarm. We get lukewarm because we don't spend time in his presence. The second side of this, and the second thing he went into is that all too often we're so much pursuing knowledge that we miss the whole relationship part of this. We get so consumed with becoming, as Joaquin was talking last night, about being an expert. See, experts don't need anybody to teach them. We get so messed up with being an expert and knowing it all that we forget that we're sons. We're sons and we have a father, and we really need to get in relationship with him so that we can serve. You see, the word also tells us that he who is first will be last, and he who is least will be greatest, and he who is the greatest will be the least. Because you see, I'm not called to rule over anybody. I'm not called to enforce my will on somebody else. I am called to serve. The qualifications for leadership are humility and servitude. If you want to be a leader, then you need to be a servant, serving others, not yourself. People are not there to serve you. You are there to serve them. It's the whole mindset that needs to shift. Because see, but if we work from a place of being an expert, then all of a sudden everybody is to serve us because we know. But can I tell you something about an expert? They seldom, if ever, walk in power. All their knowledge is not going to do one thing to help them with power. That comes from being a servant. That comes from humility. That comes from the Lord being able to work through you because you have a relationship with him. Because you see, we've got this terminology that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's a cool saying, and in the flesh, it's pretty much true. But Jesus had all power. It did not corrupt him. Why? Jesus came as a servant. Jesus came in humility. The God of all creation stepped out of heaven and became man. The one who ruled over angels became less than the angels. He came to serve. It was him that came to serve the disciples, not the disciples to serve him. He came to such a degree to serve that he actually laid his life down on the cross. He gave it away because he had the full authority and power to take it if he wanted to. So we walk in such a place, we get caught up in all this stuff. We get blown up with our own pride. We get blown up with our knowledge. We think our theology is more important than the relationship we have with the Father. Perfect theology does not cast out demons. Perfect theology is never going to heal anybody. You can have the best theology going, and that theology is not going to heal one person. It's all the stuff coming at us from all these different directions, and all these things that we have creates us an environment where we become lukewarm. Because we have forgotten what we've been called to do, and we've been called to seek the kingdom, get into a relationship and alignment with him, fall in love with the creator of it all, to where all we want and our desire is to do what he's called us to do. You can't be lukewarm in that place. You can only be lukewarm when you let the other stuff in. The enemy is always going to throw it at you. It's always going to be there, but it only has a hold on you if you let it. The only place the enemy has any place in me is places where I allow him in. I was reading about the lame man at the pool of Bethesda, and he's there, and Jesus says, "Do you want to get well?" Well, you know, this, that. I mean, he doesn't even answer him with yes. And we teach on that part of it. But the second part of it is Jesus healed him, and he picked up his mat, told him to pick up his mat and go, and told him not to sin anymore unless something worse happened to him. Sin allows the enemy into our lives all the time. But not only that, he goes and presents himself to you. He goes to the synagogue, because when he was laying there crippled, he would not have been allowed in the synagogue. Now he's healthy and he's well, and he goes to the synagogue, and they're not even concerned about, they want, who did this? Who told you to carry your mat? This is Sabbath day. You can't carry your mat.
That's serious.
Yes, exactly.
That's religious for sure.
That's what they did. They weren't awed and wondered by the miracle because they knew who he was. They said, who cured you? Who healed you? Well, the one that told me to carry my mat. We want to find him. Not to give God glory, but because he was carrying his mat. This is what happens. I believe it happens in all of our lives. I'm not trying to be critical, or I'm just telling you, and I love what he said. He said, take your temperature. Do not be afraid to take your temperature. Where are you at? Where are you at? Now, I thought Shirley was going there earlier with what she was talking about, where she was sharing, you know, when Jesus comes down off the mountain of transfiguration, and then the guy is asking Jesus to help him, and Jesus says, well, if you believe. He says, I believe. Help my unbelief. I mean, we believe, but unbelief is always creeping in. I believe, but I just haven't experienced that. You know, you can believe in healing, but until you've experienced it, it's just, again, that's basically theology. I can believe in healing. I can believe that I can lay hands on the sick and see them get well. I believe that I can cast out demons all through the power of God who resides in me. Don't misunderstand me. But until I've actually experienced that, it's just knowledge. It's just knowledge. So yes, help my unbelief. Help that unbelief that creeps in. Help that unbelief that is there because the enemy is telling me that you. I mean, he'll put people in my life. I mean, he did. You know, told a lady that had known me when I knew my sister, knew about me. And when I told her that my wife and I, Shirley, we pastored a church in Canyon Lake, she just looked at me and goes, you? That's the words that came out of her mouth. The enemy tells me the same thing. The enemy is there to tell me the same thing. Who do you think you are? I am a child of the Most High God. I have been called and set apart. I am a royal priesthood. Absolutely. But the enemy is there to steal your passion. He's there. He can only do what we let him. He will bring whatever into your life. He will bring whatever he needs to. It can be, do you know how many times I've seen people get deterred by really good things? They're on a path, man. They're in there going after Jesus. And then, bloop, something they'd been wanting for a long time drops right there in front of them. All of a sudden, there they go. It's a good thing. It just sucks up all their time. And then that whole direction they had for Jesus, that whole push in that they had for Jesus is suddenly lukewarm. Happens all the time. Happens all the time. So I took my temperature last night and I didn't like it because it was neither hot nor cold.
This thing broke.
No, I knew. I knew the message was for me. I even knew why I was there. Okay, and I'm praising because I don't want to stay. It is, when the enemy does stuff, he doesn't come dressed in red with horns, carrying a pitchfork. He never comes where it's easy to identify. He always comes in ways just like a slithering little snake trying to sneak in and find his way. Until then, all of a sudden you look, and it's like, again, we can go to the frog in the boiling water. Put a frog, what they say? They do the same thing with lobsters and everything else. They put them in the pot and then they turn the heat on. The water warms up. Never notice until all of a sudden they're cooked. It's the same way with the enemy. He comes in, a little bit here, a little bit there. Water's warming up. You don't even know it. Next thing you know, you're cooked. Serious. I do want to challenge you to take your temperature. See where you're at. Because we don't have time to mess around. We don't. At my age, I really don't. Yeah? I'm on the back end of this thing no matter how I look at it, all right? I'm just telling you. There's no way to get around it. I'm on the back side. But we don't have time to mess around. We don't have time not to be doing our Father's business. We don't have time not to get into place and take that time in the morning. I don't care when you do it, morning, afternoon, evening. I don't know what your day looks like. For me, it's morning. Because in the morning, before all the stuff begins to happen, I can get in that quiet place and I can get to where I need to go. And the more often I do it, the easier it becomes. You get to where you're looking forward to it. And I don't know what he's got for you. I don't know where he's calling you. I mean, I have a hard enough time to tell you where he's calling me and what he's telling me to do. And it's personal. He loves you. He cares for you. You are his child. And he has good plans for you. We've already studied the last few weeks about being kings and priests and sons and daughters and being called and set apart and all of this stuff. But I'm telling you, he wants relationship with you. And without it, you're going to become lukewarm. If you can't get into the place and spend time with him, inevitably you become lukewarm. And the reason I can say that is because if you weren't lukewarm, there is nothing that would keep you from spending time with him. I believe in a place of relationship, your life will be filled with power. If you're trying to live from a place where you're an expert, you're not going to be able to be taught. You're going to have great theology, but I have yet to see it produce power. It's your choice. It's your choice where you go. He's not going to overwhelm you and make you come into a relationship with him. He's not going to force you into spending time with him. That's up to you. That's the reason sometimes there's times where I'm studying. There's times where I'm really getting into the Word. I'm doing all this stuff. There's times where I'm reading other things that are causing me to think outside the box, which I really love thinking outside the box, because we inevitably we're always putting God in the box, and we interpret the Word as we've been taught. Oftentimes there's things I believe that was taught to me 30 years ago, 40 years ago, that I've been taught in church. So I like to get outside that box and try to see what God's trying to tell me with the Word on. And that's wonderful. And I'm not knocking that, because there's seasons for that in my life all the time. But it can never, ever take the place of my personal time with him. It can never, ever take the place of the time that I spend one-on-one with my Father without a list of things to ask for, simply to get into a place to be with him. Because in that place, he's going to talk to me. He's going to share things with me. I'm going to find that peace we talk about. The taxes won't matter anymore. They don't even come up. They're not on the list. I didn't carry my list with me. Health doesn't come with me. I don't have an agenda other than being with him. Now, it's amazing what happens when I come out of those places. It truly is. So, that's one of the things that for me, like going into Mexico or going anywhere on a mission trip, is that everything gets laid aside. Each day, the only question I really have is, what does God have for me today? Now, Shirley and I were talking. I'd listened to some stuff with Lana Bowser, and she asked God every morning, what's on your heart today? And what are you dreaming about? Whoa, God's dreaming? That's big. But she starts her day that way. She starts her day going to the Father. Not with a list. Just simply to go to the Father. I want to encourage you to start your day going to the Father. Talking to the Father. Just going there, hanging out. If you haven't done it before, just get quiet and just, here I am, Jesus. Here I am. And let him take you wherever he wants to take you. You might be amazed where he takes you. Here recently, and I was sharing with Sam, he will take me to places and I literally feel my body leave. I feel my spirit leaving my body. I told him, I said, it was really weird because I could feel it come up from the waist up. I could feel myself come out. It was like I was still attached. I'm not sure what I was holding on to, but I was still attached because I know he was wanting to take me somewhere and I wasn't quite getting there. But you will be amazed at what he'll do to you and with you and through you and for you. All of those things. But it's got to start with you truly seeking him. Put your list down. Put your cares down. And just seek him. In Jesus' name. Hallelujah. Awesome. So we have prayer if anybody needs prayer. We do have face-to-face tomorrow night. There is also, I didn't say it earlier, there is men's, it's not men's. It is Bible study prayer Monday night at the bowling alley also. The prayer starts around 8:30. The bowling is before that. And somebody, Sam, were you at the bowling alley Monday? Maybe. Somebody got touched. Oh, it was a young man that was here Friday night. Ray got zapped on Monday. So, yeah, hallelujah. Oh, thank you so much. Yes. 24/7 is Thursday night. Well, starts Thursday night. Yeah, it's forever. Thursday night at midnight, we start. I have it in there. I'll get it. Did y'all sign up? Oh, no. Once you signed up, you're done. The only thing you can do to that list is add to it. You cannot take away from it. Huh? Mine's 4:00, yes. And what I'll put it back out. Plus, when I send out the message this time, I'll also send out a copy, picture of who's praying when. And yes, that is this week. It'll be again. Melinda's not in here. I give her grief, but yes, Friday starts midnight, Saturday night. Thursday night. Keep your same times. But I will send it to you. If you want more, absolutely. And if you haven't signed up and you're not part of it, please let me know because I've got the list in there and I'll get it out and you can just add your name. And you pray for an hour. And I should have some guidance for prayer, just some small amounts that they've given me. And I'll make sure I'll get them out on the email. And I'll try to have the email out no later than Tuesday. I'd say tomorrow, but who knows? Lord help me. Yes. Absolutely. Sure. So hallelujah, Jesus.